Welcome, friends, to this connection. This video is the first part of our time together. Next Wednesday, April the 29th, around 6:15, we will have a live Zoom session to discuss further the material and how we can apply it to our everyday lives. Most importantly, this gives us a chance to connect with friends we have missed seeing these past weeks, and we hope new folks will join us. This 3-week study is based on Bishop Reuben Job's book, 3 Simple Rules, A Wesleyan Way of Living. John Wesley and his brother founded a group for students at Oxford University in England to help them be faithful in their walk with God. It was very structured or methodical, and other students at the school teased them and nicknamed them Methodists. After John became an Anglican priest, the Methodist movement began to grow in England. He formed societies that met weekly for mutual accountability. Anyone was welcome to join, but they needed to be willing to lead a disciplined life. Leaders began coming to John asking for instruction and how to teach and guide people to lead a holy life. John answered with what is known as the General Rules of the United Societies around 1739. These can still be found in the Book of Discipline, although as modern-day United Methodists, we do not hold each other accountable, or most do not even know what they are. But in reviewing them, the overall ideas can still be useful to us today as we desire to stay connected to God, to each other, and to the world. In 2007, Bishop Job summarized Wesley's rules in his book. These rules are based on the life and teachings of Jesus, especially the Great Commandment. They were never meant to be laws, but guidelines to help form Christian character, or as a goal Wesley described as holiness of heart and life. Jesus was asked of all the commandments, which one is the most important? Jesus responded, the most important one is this. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. The second is this, love your neighbor as yourself. There is no great commandment than this. It's from Mark 12, verses 30 and 31. Wesley said of the Great Commandment, it supersedes all others as a guide to the highest form of faithfulness. Out of the Great Commandment are the simplified 3 rules. Do no harm, do good, stay in love with God. We're going to look at the first one, do no harm. As I read Wesley's original rule as found in the Book of Discipline, see what you think, or which ones you may have been guilty of. It is therefore expected of all who continue therein that they should continue to evidence the desire of salvation by doing no harm, by avoiding evil of every kind, especially that which is most generally practiced, such as the taking of the name of God in vain, the profaning of the day of the Lord, drunkenness, buying or selling spirituous liquors, or drinking them, unless in cases of extreme necessity, buying or selling slaves, fighting, quarreling, brawling, the giving or taking of things on usury, uncharitable or unprofitable conversation, particularly speaking evil of magistrates or of ministers, doing unto others as we would not have them do unto us, the putting on of gold and costly apparel, softness in needless self-indulgence, the singing those songs or reading those books which do not tend to the knowledge or love of God, laying up treasures upon earth, and borrowing without a probability of paying back. So how did you do? Good thing is that we really don't make that count anymore. That was the harm Wesley thought was most generally practiced 281 years ago, though. If we do no harm, what does that mean for us? We always go back to Jesus for our ultimate example. Jesus writes that even a casual reading of the Gospels suggests that Jesus taught and practiced a way of life that did no harm. His life, his way of life, and his teaching demonstrated so well that first simple rule. He further writes, what would it mean if we took this first simple rule seriously? First of all, it would mean an examination of the way we live and practice our faith. And if this examination were thorough, it would surely lead to a change in the way we practice our faith. We would begin to examine our own thoughts, actions, words, and ask ourselves if they cause harm to another. What do we need to lift up instead of tear down? Encourage instead of discourage? Love instead of hate? We would work to bring healing instead of hurt, wholeness instead of division, peace instead of conflict. So what is involved? Job writes, to do no harm is a proactive response to all that is evil, all that is damaging and destructive to humankind and God's good creation, and therefore ultimately destructive to us. To do no harm means that I will be on guard so that all my actions and even my silence will not add injury to another of God's children or to any part of God's creation. Do no harm. Sounds so simple, but living it's a challenge. We love Jesus. We desire to do no harm. But as Paul writes in Romans 7:19, it is not easy. He said, what I do is not the good I want to do, not the evil I do not want to do, that I keep doing. But you can try to be intentional with lots of help from the Holy Spirit. If you do, it will change your life. It will change my life. It will cause us to examine our speech, our actions, and our motives in the light of Christ. This coming week, I invite you to join me in daily examining ourselves in the presence of God, reflecting on where we have done harm today, seeking forgiveness, and praying for guidance to be more of a help to God and God's work on this earth. I close with a quote from Linda Whited. God's plan was for an orderly creation and for human lives of peace and joy. The sun would shine, the rains would come, plants would grow, people would take care of the world and treat one another with love, respect, and fairness. When God's plan is distorted, though, the results can be devastating for both the earth and for people. To do no harm is a huge first step towards life as God planned it. Have a great week, and I hope to see you next Wednesday. Thank you.